This idea that you're the best.
This is where the power lies.
He put hard times on Dusty Rhodes and his family.
You know who I am. But you don't know why I'm here.
I'm the best. I'm the best in the world.
From the top to the bottom. And because they can't handle the Macho Man Randy Savage, the cream of the crop, nobody does it better.
This ain't WCW. This ain't Monday Night Raw. This ain't SmackDown. This ain't even WWE.
It's time to step into the squared circle and get it done.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time to face the wrestling. Yeah. I was kind of playing off the X Factor then. You remember the X Factor when the announcer, who I've met, who's a really nice guy, and it's time to face the music.
The music.
In 1. Stay out of the red and into the black. There's nothing in this game for 2 in a bed. Whatever it is. Bullseye. Bit of classic bullseye there.
Love a bit of bully.
Love a bit of bully.
Can't beat a bit of bully at weekends, mate.
Love a bit of bully. Love a bit of bully. Say what you see. Say what you see. For those in Europe, Canada, and America have got absolutely no idea what the hell we are talking about.
You know, that's one of the things I love about the fact that we are quite global and that, you know, we're all from different parts of the world. And that is because they, you know, other guys like sometimes can mention things we haven't got a clue about. We haven't got a Scooby-Doo what they're talking about. And it's the same for us. They're like, what are those 2 Brits on about?
Ooh. I've just had an idea.
Oh, no. What have I done?
I'm not going to tell you except for next week. Next week on this show, we're going to add... We normally just do 1 segment, don't we? Which is kind of like normally just talking about the topic we're going to talk about. But next week, I'm going to bring a game back.
Ooh.
In fact, I'm not going to bring a game back. I'm going to bring a game. Okay. Ooh, I like this. I just got to work it out.
Joe Aguinaldo did it in the library with the lead pipe.
I mean, if you're going to rip off Cluedo, you've got to say Joe Aguinaldo did it in the squared circle with a steel chair, or did it in the boiler room with an urn, or the ghost of... I'm playing WWE 2K25 at the moment, and all of this controversy regarding the new wave pack and the celebrity DLC, and it's El Grande Americano, and I can't wait because it's Chad Gable. Well, actually, it's not. It's Ilya Dragunov at the moment.
I thought it was Ludwig Kaiser.
Oh, Ludwig Kaiser, that's right. Yeah, Ilya. Yeah, who's split up with Tiffany Stratton, apparently, according to the dirt sheets.
Yeah. Oh, what a shame.
What there's more chance for some people. Anyway, not me because I'm married. But where was I going with this? Oh, yes. I've been playing WWE 2K25. And have you heard about this island thing that they've brought in?
Yeah.
So I've avoided it like the plague, right? Because it's like, ugh. No, and I've got to spend money and all this type of thing. Anyway, I've realized that you can actually play the game without spending money, which is great. And I've got bored playing the single player, you know, just like random matches. And especially after 15 hours worth of wrestling one weekend, it was like enough's enough. So I've started playing the island, and I'm currently playing the Ghost of Paul Bearer.
Oh yeah, I see the footage of that, because they've also just uploaded the a Wyatt storyline on the island, haven't they? Which has got features a bit of Bray in there.
Yeah, it's awkward, that one, because you're meant to be able to find that in the cemetery in the Deadlands. Makes sense, right? So I've run around the Deadlands, and it's free to everybody. You haven't got to complete chapter 1 or chapter 2. It's free for everybody, right? And I run around, and I cannot find how you access the Wyatt. Okay. I can get into the Wyatt compound, but nothing else. Anyway, the Ghost of Paul Bearer, they make you play through 4 different versions of the Undertaker. And I'm currently playing Hell in a Cell against the 1998 Undertaker, and he's completely kicking my ass. It's unfair.
I'll tell you what I've not been playing WWE 2K25. I've been playing around with AI. I asked AI, where you ask self, I asked AI. I said, AI, give me the absolute best definition of a bakery. And do you know what it gave me? It gave me a video clip of Stephanie Vicaire, Rhea Ripley, and Alexa Bliss in the ring on SmackDown celebrating with their derrieres shown to the camera.
Right. So many things to unpack in that.
I like the fact that your choice of words there. Plenty of things to unpack in it.
Plenty of things.
We're men.
Plenty of things to unpack there.
I'm sure we would. But anyway, family show before we get...
Yeah, I'm not going to go to the obvious thing, but I do have to address one thing. Why were you searching for the definition of a bakery?
Someone said try it. And, yeah.
Right.
And if you go on social media, you'll probably see floating around in some wrestling group that I'm not the only person who's actually put the true definition of a bakery, and that clip is attached to it. Gonna do a live AI test at the moment. Gonna go on to the Google AI. Can you give me definition of a bakery? Can you give me a definition of a bakery? Yeah, no, it didn't give me. You get that. I get a bakery is a place where baked goods are produced and sold. This typically includes items such as bread, cakes, pastries, pies, cookies, and other flour-based food products. Bakeries can range from small independent shops to larger establishments, and some, get this, may also offer a cafe or seating area for customers to enjoy their purchases. The core function, however, revolves around the art and the craft of baking. See, there we go. So I'm sure none of our listeners had any idea what a bakery was until then, but there you go.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is this week's edition of Legends and Champions. We will see you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Till next week. See you
next week, everybody. Right, coming up, talking about next week, coming up this week on Celebrate Wrestling. If you want to listen to all of the good stuff, then you can check out the Greek World Order, as Mitch and Dimitri will take to the airwaves each and every Saturday with their show, which is called the Alternate Commentary Table on a Sunday. On a Sunday? That sounded really northern. That sounded really northern.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a northern twang on this show, haven't we?
Yeah, but I'm southern. I'm southern, mate. I'm southern. Don't know what's going on. Like, don't know what's going on. Like, that was my Liverpool accent. Where was I going? On Sundays, Mike Maguire, Joe Aguinaldo, and Dave. What's his name? Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. I'm sorry, I'm really not with it. I'll back with the flagship show, Maguire on Wrestling. And every Wednesday, we have got shows in the can already. It's Stephen Bennett, myself, and Self are here with Legends and Champions. But if you wanted to get in contact with us, I said, Self, how do you get into contact with... I buggered it up. How do you get into contact with Celebrate Wrestling? And Self went, well, I asked Stefan.
Stefan said, thanks, Self, considering last week when I asked you, you said, sort it out yourself, said Self. But yes, you go over to Facebook, you type in Celebrate Wrestling, that's what you all search for, and you click to join, and you answer a couple of questions because Zuckerberg and Meta request it, and El Capitano, Mike Maguire, will then get you in to the group where you can trade comments and join discussions with like-minded wrestling fans. It is a no-jerk zone, so there's no dramas. It is a friendly place to be. And as I said, get involved and you can help shape the future of our shows and what we talk about. So get involved.
Except for ours, because we're planned out for the rest of the year.
Except for ours, yeah.
We alter hours on the fly during the shows. Like, next week, we're going to be doing this. I've got a plan. Next week, we should be talking about SummerSlam 95. I pretty much guarantee you by the time we get to the end of this show, we won't be talking about SummerSlam 95. It'll be something different. Speaking about what we're covering today, it is SummerSlam season. We covered SummerSlam 89 last week, a great show talking about No Holds Barred. And, of course, the big tag team main event between Hulk Hogan, the Barber, Brutus Beefcake, the Macho King, Randy Savage, and Zeus. This week, however, it's not quite as good. We're talking SummerSlam 1993. The main event, of course, was Made in the USA, Lex Luger facing off against Yokozuna for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. And interesting, this one, because we were at a crossroads. We were at a changing of the guard. Hogan gone from the World Wrestling Federation for a period of 1993 to 2002. Hogan was gone for almost over 10 years. Now, no, 11 years. No, 9 years.
Did you know Hogan was gone?
Hogan was gone. He went to WCW. He formed something called the BWO, I think it was. The YWO, the Yellow World Order.
Ah.
Yes.
Okay. I thought it was the BWO, the Brother World Order.
New power. So Vince was on the lookout for new stars. He wanted a new main eventer. And we already knew that one of those superstars that were in contention to become that main eventer was the hitman Bret Hart from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, the man who really should have been the face of the World Wrestling Federation at that point. The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, was also on trajectory to become one of the main faces of the World Wrestling Federation. Scott Hall on trajectory to be one of the main faces, didn't quite make it. But they didn't go with any of those three. They went with Lex Luger.
Yeah. I was always a Luger fan. I've always looked back with a lot of frustration on Luger's run in the WWE. Again, this is, we've touched on this so many times. You have as well, where we've discussed about how Vince kind of took established top former world champions from other promotions, brought them in and kind of did very little to nothing, or sort of always teased that they were going to be the next big star in the WWF and didn't quite do it. And Luger is one of the epitomes of exactly that way of business that Vince kind of conducted a lot of the time in those days. So, I mean, it was a missed opportunity because there was a lot of hype. We know about the focus on Yokozuna. Yokozuna was, he was on that trajectory as WWF champion. He was thrown right into it. And then you've got all that focus on, okay, who's going to take him? Who's going to take him down? Who's going to take him down? And it reminds me a little bit of actually, and it's quite interesting how this reminds me straight away of his opponent, Lex Luger. Because I remember the time in WCW when Luger was the world champion and he was running through everyone. He was beating everyone. And they made a big thing, WCW, over who's going to dethrone Lex Luger. Tom Zenk failed. You threw everyone at Luger. Luger beat them until he lost to Ron Simmons. Mm-hmm. It was Ron Simmons that ended up dethroning him as champion. So it's a very similar situation with Yokozuna. Everyone tried to beat Yokozuna and failed. Luger comes in, and they tease that they put all of this focus on Luger. We had the body slam on the cruise on the ship. It was almost, if you were almost a betting man, it was like Luger's the next world champion. Luger's going to be the man. That's how they were hyping up the Lex Express. They threw everything at it, only to do nothing with it.
You see, it's interesting because a lot of what you said I completely agree with, right? We talked about this last week on 89, where we mentioned about the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and when he came over and how they packaged him in the polka dots, and it was a rib, but he made it a success. I think there's two strands to this. The first strand is they built Yokozuna beautifully up until WrestleMania 9.
Yeah.
Because as we all know, at WrestleMania 9, he beat Bret the Hitman Hart for the World Wrestling Federation Championship in the main event. And then within about 35 seconds, he lost to Hulk Hogan, who played that creative control clause. And then he won it back at the King of the Ring. Now, the mistake they made, because I think at this point, they had Yokozuna as the Andre the Giant, the irresistible force. He was unstoppable. He destroyed everybody in the Royal Rumble. He did that amazing kick out, when Randy Savage in the main event of the Royal Rumble 30-man, we talked about this in the archives, went for a pinfall for some strange reason, and Yokozuna bench pressed him straight over the top rope to the outside, which made no sense. He completely destroyed Hacksaw Jim Duggan on the go home. He destroyed Hacksaw again on the SummerSlam Sizzler. But I think the minute they made him lose the strap to Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 9, you lost some of that monster appeal of Yokozuna because
it disappeared. Yeah,
they normalized him. They made him human.
Yeah, pretty much spot on. That's the thing. I mean, even all right, I was, at that point when we got to WrestleMania 9, even though I was still a Hulkamaniac, my interest had simmered somewhat. As I've touched on before. We know it's that whole Vince thing of send the crowd home happy. That's why they did it. Usually that's, kind of why it worked out that way. For me, the way I see it is you don't have to send the crowd home happy with a result of the main event. You don't, as long as the match was good or acceptable enough, it's okay for the fan favorite, the face, to lose, because you can build on that. People want to see, if when Brett loses to Yoko at WrestleMania 9 and there's no Hogan involvement, that's how it ends, legitimately ends. They then have this build up where we could see a dejected Bret Hart thinking, I don't know what I can do to beat this guy. I'm the excellence of execution, but even I'm struggling to who can dethrone him. I can't. And then build up Bret again on this. What's it, an underdog story as such, because we know how great Bret Hart is. But have this guy who we know how good he is, struggling to redeem that championship loss and build it up to where it finally pays off.
But that would have worked, though. But that would have worked because the fun is always in the chase.
Yes,
and we got to bear in mind as well. We're talking about this, like the reactions and going home not happy and all this type of thing. It was 1993. The industry was very different. Yeah. Back in this time, and the mentality, not just within the World Wrestling Federation, but in WCW as well, was you sent the fans home with what they want. But I think the difference was the WCW weren't really bothered if Ric Flair went over in the main event, or the Horseman or whatever. It was putting on the best match. So we've got this issue here with Yokozuna. We've got this issue here with the Hitman Bret Hart. We then move forward to King of the Ring, the inaugural King of the Ring. I'm going to call it a PLE because that's the terminology we've now got used to. But this King of the Ring live event where you would expect, this is Hogan's swan song, out the door. We didn't know this at the time, but you would expect Yokozuna to be made strong. But they didn't. They did the cheap finish with the camera explosion into the eye of Hogan, leading into the banzai drop. And again, this didn't help Yokozuna. This hurt Yokozuna because, again, the one person you can't beat is Hulk Hogan.
It's taking that legitimacy away from the danger that Yoko was portrayed as earlier on. And to be fair, I also think, there'll probably be a lot of people that go, yeah, it's about time. But I actually think they did Hogan dirty on a cheap. I actually think they did both wrestlers dirty with that finish. Hogan's last WWF appearance before, he would come back in 2002 at No Way Out. He goes out like that, and Yokozuna regains the title like that. I think it actually damaged both of them in some ways. I think Hogan should have gone out a little bit more gracefully in defeat and said goodbye. And Yokozuna should have been rebuilt. And I think, I watched the documentary on Yokozuna on his career and his passing and whatnot. And there was many times where I was watching it where I felt really emotional because you could see. We all know about his health and the fact that he just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And when you hear about his peers like The Undertaker and that absolutely loved the guy to pieces, they have so much love and respect for this guy, for this gentle giant. Just saying like we're basically watching him eat himself to death. Essentially, he's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And he's getting more clumsy and then you see the fact that he then started to become a bit of a joke in the ring where he was always losing matches by, he's trying to climb up for the bonsai drop and he would always like slip off or because he was too heavy and things like that. And you can see after he leaves the WWE, how much it looked like it really hurt him that he was no longer in that spotlight. And we've touched on this before, so I'm not going to go deep into it, but we've spoken about in the past about how, some people may think that maybe some promotions should maybe do better with looking after the well-being and the welfare of their talent. But sometimes you can't help those who can't help themselves, unfortunately. But yeah, anyway, I'm sort of going off on a tangent here. But yeah, it hurt, and he didn't really recover. There was almost, I think, the year after, when we go into 94, obviously we know about the Royal Rumble 94 against The Undertaker, it kind of started to build him back up a little bit again. But once it hit Survivor Series and Chuck Norris was involved in that casket match and whatnot, that was it. It was never.
I mean, I wouldn't say his career, went into the gutter, because I think he had a great run with Owen Hart.
Yeah.
In the tag team, but obviously that was a couple of years later. The other one we're talking about Lex Luger and Yokozuna here, and the other one that we really need to think that they hurt the booking of, because Luger's made it known he had more fun always being a bad guy. And to be honest, if you look back at the career of Lex Luger in the WCW, in the NWA, and in the World Wrestling Federation, his success came when he was that cocky, arrogant heel, when he was the total package, when he was, the narcissist. And I think the unfortunate thing here was they only debuted him in January of 1993. So it's only been 7 months at this point, for the 4th of July challenge. And I think, it takes a good 8 to 12 months to kind of really solidify where you are on that card, solidify the matches, solidify your reputation, to get over with the crowd, to get over with the booking. And I think the dirty part here was they didn't give him enough time to really kind of gel with the character, because the character was a rip-off of the total package. I mean, let's be frank.
Yeah. I mean, as you touched on, he's only 7 months into his WWE career at that run at that time anyway. And you think that's such a short period of time for him to be hyped up as the narcissist, to play this heel, to then really quickly transition into the All-American Lex Luger character, this baby face. And, I actually, to be fair, it's interesting when you touched on what Lex, said about he always preferred being the bad guy, being the heel. And to be fair, in the later days of WCW, especially when we look at where we touched on Bash at the Beach recently in '96, and we look at like the NWO Wolfpack. He did actually, I feel, in those later stages of his career, in the late '90s, like mid to late '90s, I actually think he performed better as a babyface in WCW than he did when he was in the WWE. I thought he seemed more comfortable doing the babyface role, even though he was never a favourite of that. But I think he actually carried it better off in WCW, probably because he was associated with Savage, Nash, and Sting, and they had those around him. That kind of, he worked better as a face in a team unit. Kind of setting, as opposed to as the lone wolf.
I think the problem, you raise a really good point there, and we go back to Bash at the Beach '96 and that whole storyline. There was still heel tendencies in Lex Luger, though. I think the term, we use the term quite a lot, tweener, right? Yes. He was very much a Paul White. He was very much a Big Show. 1 minute he was a face, 1 minute he was a heel. He's had more turns than he's had hot dinners, but this whole transition from the narcissist to made in the USA was legitimately 100% the brainchild of Vince McMahon, because he wanted to have a new Hulk Hogan. The problem with that is, I think for me, looking back on this now, going, 1 week you are the narcissist Lex Luger. Let's say on Superstars on Saturday, you're the narcissist Lex Luger. The Sunday is July the 4th, and I'm making the date up here. You have suddenly just turned up at the USS Intrepid to body slam Yokozuna. That's not what a heel does. Why the sudden turn? Why 24 hours? Why not? If you're going to turn him if you're going to turn the guy, you got to put some sort of a program in place, because what they did was they threw this Lex Luger face turn down the throats of every person with the Lex Express. It was very much Rocky Maivia, and they repeated the same thing back in 1996 when Rocky Maivia debuted in the World Wrestling Federation.
And they did the same thing with John Cena.
They did, but look where that worked out. But I mean, sometimes it works, but they threw this Lex Luger down your throat, and it felt to me like, what was Hulk Hogan known for?
Yeah.
Lex Luger's not exactly a small guy, is he? He's a big guy, pretty jacked, you know, could have replicated Hulk Hogan. It felt like Vince was going, I need a Hogan, but I need a Hogan who can work to a degree, a bit more moves than what Hulk's got. This is who I'm going to go with. And the crowd could see that. Even the unsmart crowd back in 1993, I think could see that. And the problem is, it's like when you're acting, when you're on stage, if you don't believe the character that you are portraying, the audience can pick up on that. And Lex didn't believe in Made in the USA.
No. It didn't help with all the footage that came out years later of him in his face run, where he was, being a bit rude to the fans. He wasn't interested. He was making fun of them, which I'm glad he actually, on his interview he did with Chris Van Vliet, where he actually touched on that and said, I do regret that. He said, I didn't understand the wrestling fandom on how much we mean to these people. Like, he thought it was a bit weird and awkward that, and he said, but he's grown to get that and appreciate that now. And he apologized for it, which, absolutely, fair play to him. But yeah, you're absolutely right. If you have to, this is why sometimes people like The Miz, R-Truth, and that did what I call the unsung heroes of wrestling now, are when they're given something, which it can be something that's absolutely entirely ridiculous. Look at Damien Sandow, for example, prime example. Not really going anywhere. He becomes Mizdow. Becomes that stunt double. It's a ridiculous gimmick. Anyone would have normally scoffed at that idea. But when you make it believable and you just go, do you know what the hell? I'm still lucky to be here. I'm working. I'm picking up paycheck. I'm going to have a bit of fun with this. Why not? And you throw everything into it and you just believe it. You just give it everything, even though if you're not sold on the idea, but you give it everything you've got, you can make a success out of it. And I think that is exactly what one of the issues was with Lex. I think it could have worked better if Lex had been off TV for a little while, say for a number of months, and we'd last see him as a narcissist. Maybe he got an injury or something and was written off. And then all of a sudden you've got Yokozuna in the ring on the Intrepid, and it's like, oh, who's going to slam him? And there's a couple of other guys that come out and they've tried, they failed. Then all of a sudden Luger comes out and people go, oh, this is Lex Luger. We know the strength he's got. Oh, hold on a minute. But people will do it. I mean, it's the same thing. We've seen it before, but not to the extent where you've had someone, say, for example, like the great Khali in the ring, not a great worker, but he's a threat because he just squashes everybody, right? Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the Big Show comes out. People are like, oh, here's someone that can match this guy. People get behind that person. It's like, oh, this is the person that's most likely going to have some success here where everyone else has failed. And the crowd do sometimes get behind that person. But you've got to execute it a certain way. But the talent that's been put in that position has to believe it. They have to give it everything. And unfortunately for Lex, at the time, it wasn't for him.
We're going to talk about it in just a second. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the match, because moving on to SummerSlam itself now, I mean, it's generally regarded as a misfire. This pay-per-view. And actually, when you look at the card, it's not that bad a card. 3 championships on the line. It's featuring some of the, the biggest names of the time in the World Wrestling Federation at SummerSlam. You can see that they're still trying to make it the number 2 PLE in the organization, which we talked about last time. But the problem with it is you're only as good what happened before. And you come off a red hot SummerSlam 92. You come off then a pretty good Royal Rumble. you know, in January. WrestleMania 9, regardless of what people think, was some people consider it a hit, some people consider it a miss. I'm personally in the hit column because I think it's one of the best. Better than WrestleMania 2000.
I knew, I was waiting for that.
But then you go to King of the Ring, and that wasn't a good PLE.
No.
I mean, there were moments of it that were good, of course, seeing Brett in the tournament, but it was, again, categorized by that championship win and the way it happened. And SummerSlam 93 is the same. It only generated 250,000 worldwide buys. Worldwide. Now, that is a slight increase from King of the Ring 93, but it was an 11.3% decrease on the 1992 edition of SummerSlam. The WWF were also in trouble with revenue consistently declining from over $144 million in 1991 to just over $123 million in 1993, and then $89 million in 1994. So it's not in a good position, but the pay-per-view is known for that main event finish. Regardless of what was on that card, that pay-per-view will always be known for that mediocre finish. You talk about sending the fans happy. That sent the fans completely confused, missold, and just a waste of TV time.
Come on, Yoko, get up! Yokozuna's out! Oh, he's on the good ship.
Oh, wait a minute, Jim Cornette! Jim Cornette is over on the side!
A man that's injured with a bad neck.
And he deserves it!
Luger's won it!
Lex Luger's won the match! Lex Luger has won the match!
You know what? In hindsight, I have to say, you remember the following year, though, when they teased where Lex Luger joining the $1 Million Corporation.
It's SummerSlam. Yeah.
And they ended up being Tatanka that
yes.
because we had this friendship between Tatanka and Luger. I think they should have gone with Luger, because I actually think if they'd put DiBiase in Luger's corner and then had Luger as the centerpiece of the corporation at the time, because that was the problem with the corporation. They lacked someone that was a main eventer.
Yeah.
And then put him in that role, maybe get him to come back out in a robe like he did in his earlier WCW days, and kind of put him back in as that sort of total package guy, but with $1 Million Man saying, you know, everyone's got a price for $1 Million Man. I've bought the absolute best. I've bought this genetic freak and whatnot. I actually think he could have had more success.
I agree.
And I think that was a massive missed opportunity there.
I mean, if you think just a few years later, you know, 1996, when DiBiase brought the Ringmaster as the $1 Million champion out, you know, you've got who became Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? You've got a built-in storyline here that Ted DiBiase buys the contract of Lex Luger. He signs a deal with the devil, and he gives him the $1 Million championship because he's been screwed by the fans and screwed by the World Wrestling Federation. And I hadn't thought about it until you just said it.
But could play on it.
It's a built-in storyline there.
I was ready to be your champion, and that you didn't support me. You didn't get behind me. The company screwed me. They didn't want me as champion. They kept putting me against the odds, blah, 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 blah. You know, he could have really played on that, you know, the company and the fans. You know, I tried to be what they wanted, not who I wanted to be, but what they wanted me to be, and that. And I got no gratitude. I got nowhere. So here I am. This is me. This is the real me, you know, and have done that. You know, you mentioned the Ringmaster, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, whatever happened to that guy, eh? You know?
I think he does a podcast, or he did do a podcast. But I mean, you could imagine the promo. If they could have played it off, he could have played off the WCW character saying, you know, I was the total package, and then I became this mediocre package.
Yeah.
But now I am the ultimate package, the ultimate, whatever you want to, you don't want to play on the Ultimate Warrior too much. But
I was just going to say, as you just said that, the ultimate package, all of a sudden in my head, I just said, chin, 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 and then Warrior comes out and goes, there's only one ultimate wrestler in the World Wrestling Federation.
Oh, God.
No.
Could you imagine if he hadn't jumped back ship to WCW in 1995 at WrestleMania 12? It could have been the Ultimate Package versus the Ultimate Warrior.
Vince would have put that. I guarantee if the Warrior had been okay to do business with at the time, I think actually Vince might have booked it if that's how things went down.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because we talked about a few weeks ago Bash at the Beach 96, and we went, this is known for one thing. It's known for the birth of the NWO. When you talk about SummerSlam 1993, it's the same situation, isn't it? It's known for one thing. It's known for that misfire, that misstep, that waste of opportunity. Now, you've also got to think that when you look at the rest of the card at SummerSlam, and we talked about, there were some high profile moments in here. A lot of it, how do I put this politely? A lot of it seemed like they were just phoning it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. You look at someone like the bad guy, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, who went up against Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. Two guys that are legends in the industry, certifiable Hall of Famers, right? They are Hall of Famers. Yep. There is an argument to state whether or not Scott Hall should be a solo Hall of Famer for the bad guy, Razor Ramon. I mean, obviously he went in as part of the NWO.
He is in as Razor Ramon.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. That's where his speech
of course he is.
Yeah. Yes. That's where his speech of bad times don't last. Bad times don't last, but bad times do.
I really dropped my King of Wrestling trivia title here.
Yeah. He's in as Razor Ramon. Yeah, and he's in as the NWO.
But you see, it was funny though, because it was this win that propelled him into the push for the IC strap.
Yeah.
But again, he'd gone from wrestling for the World Wrestling Federation Championship at the Royal Rumble to now being the opening match at SummerSlam 1993. You had the Steiner brothers defending the tag titles against the Heavenly Bodies in a fast-paced but crowd-pleasing encounter. Not amazing, because again, you talk about talent that weren't pushed to their limits. You've got the Steiner brothers.
Yeah, I just want to mention Razor Ramon. Actually, do you know what the thing with Razor Ramon was in late '93 and throughout most of '94, Razor Ramon was probably one of the biggest overstars in the company. If they wanted to put the world title on him, no one would have had an issue with it, because if you watch those pay-per-views back then over again, his reaction, the pop that Razor gets every time he comes to the ring is louder than a lot of the main eventers. He was so over that Vince could have put the strap on him and it had been a success. And this is one of the reasons why I get frustrated with how what's the word I'm looking for? How inconsistent the Intercontinental Championship has been for years, because we've always, growing up ourselves, we've always associated the Intercontinental Championship as a very serious title to put on somebody. It was always known as the workhorse title. It was the would-be world champions that aren't world champions, and the list of names that have held them are stellar names and well-deserving of that, which is why I've always been really, really frustrated with how the WWE have treated the Intercontinental Championship over the last sort of 15 years. So, since the Attitude Era, or just after the Attitude Era, it's become a little bit like...
It's peaks and troughs, isn't it, with the Intercontinental Championship? Because you get someone like Cody Rhodes, who kind of elevated it, took it back to that classic style and kind of gave it some purpose. Yeah. And then you look at, well, actually, it's with Dominic Mysterio now, and I don't think he's doing a bad job with it. I think he's not. He's not defending it every week.
There's talent that try to give it that prestige back. I mean, Miz has won it so many times, and he, in his defense, because he's not really had much to work with, he's always tried to make it prestigious and make it mean something again. And I like that. And I think Dom's trying to do that in his way. He's trying to, say, look, this is still meaningful. And I think this is maybe one of where it suffers, because there's too many titles in the WWE.
They should do, I know they've just done Night of Champions, right? But they should do a pay-per-view where it's the Intercontinental Champions Dom and whoever the man, Becky Lynch at the moment, facing off against the WWE United States champions, whoever the US, I can't remember who the US champion is at the moment, and Julia. Oh, it's Solo Sikoa.
Solo.
As of taping, it's Solo Sikoa. That might all change at SummerSlam.
As someone else has been ruined.
And Julia, right? Then you've got the WWE Tag Team Champions facing off against the WWE World Tag Team Champions. Then you've got the Women's Tag Team Champions facing off against the NXT Women's Champions. And then you've got the WWE Women's Champion facing off against the Women's World Champion, facing off against the NXT Champion. You could literally do this. This pay-per-view, because the amount of bloody titles we've got now, you could do this pay-per-view that literally could be brand supremacy.
I remember putting in our Celebrate Wrestling group chat that all of us hosts and whatnot contributors are in, and I remember making that comment about Night of Champions this year. There's there's hardly any champions on the show, and Mike had put a comment just saying, it's just like Survivor Series where there's no Survivor Series matches anymore, and and he's right, and I don't get it. Why call it Night of Champions if you're not showcasing your champions? That kind of just Survivor Series went through a really, really bad period for a number of years where we didn't really have many Survivor Series matches. But now they put War Games in it, which is a survival style match. It kind of, I think, has elevated Survivor Series again a little bit more.
A little bit. Although I think War Games could get a bit stale doing it. Doing multiple War Games on a PLE. You've
got to build up. The War Games is such a pivotal match. It's almost like a culmination of an end of a rivalry. We see it like with the Bloodline and the people that...
Which makes sense.
Which makes sense. You've got to have that be like the culmination of a drawn out process.
Yeah, because what you don't want to do is completely diminish the value of the match. Because if you look at what TNA did with Lockdown, with every match being in a steel cage, or Hell in a Cell, or TLC, or Money in the Bank, or
I'm still one of these that think Money in the Bank should go back as a WrestleMania match. Have the women's on one night and the men's on
I think it's a great call.
But I miss those days. And I think the young fans will never experience this unless WWE change it. Those days where you're watching Raw or SmackDown and then, this rivalry's got really out of hand, and then you'll have maybe in today's day it'd be Nick Aldis or Adam Pearce who come out and turn around and say, right, that's it, I'm sick of you two guys and that. Right, this ends once and for all at, I don't know, Backlash. You will defend the World Heavyweight Championship against blah, blah, blah in Hell in a Cell, like that. And then everyone's goes, oh my God, the big pop. We don't get that anymore.
You know what they're missing? I'm going to give you 2 words. You know what they're missing? Championship Scramble.
Oh, yeah. Championship Scramble. Yeah, I mean, it's worth...
I love the championship.
There's only been the one... Bring it back, see what they can do. If might change my mind.
Other matches on the card that we need to talk to as we begin to finish this misstep into SummerSlam history was the feud between the Hitman Bret Hart and Jerry the King Lawler, which culminated in this. I mean, it started at King of the Ring when Bret won the King of the Ring championship. It went on though, maybe too long because it went on
too long. That nearly 2 years, wasn't it?
2 years, right? We got to the Kiss My Foot match at King of the Ring '95.
I try to forget that.
I enjoyed that match. I thought that was.
It's just the end when you see what they did with Jerry's foot.
I was the bit of it is that's the bit of it I like.
Andy.
No, not because I've got not because it's just because of the fact that it was the culmination of the feud. It was the payoff, and they could do more of these.
And he needs a foot world order.
No, I don't. But he brought out Doink the Clown when Doink still meant something.
Jerry Lawler, what is going on? I'm going to tell you exactly what is going on. This was going to be the biggest night of my entire life. I hate you, Bret Hart. I hate you. I hate your stinking father. I hate your wrinkled up old mother. I hate your brothers. And I cannot wait until I can get my hands around your neck and snap it. Do you understand that? But as I arrived in this stinking city of Detroit, Detroit, Michigan.
You're right about that.
I hate each and every one of you peons, too. Do you understand that? What happened? I'm going to tell you what happened if you'll shut up. I got off that plane at the airport, and I went to the rent-a-car, and I rented one of these supposedly big, luxurious limousines made here in Detroit, the Motor City. And as I started to drive over here to SummerSlam, I realized things weren't going exactly right. Because on this big shot car made in Detroit, the radio didn't work, the brakes didn't work, the airbag didn't work, and as I was pulling off I-75 out here, a little old blue-haired lady who should have had her license revoked about 50 years ago pulled out in front of me, and she caused about a 10-car pileup.
Must have been hell and heart.
I want to tell you, it was horrible. Look at my leg right now.
Oh my goodness.
I had to pull myself out of the fiery wreckage. My leg was twisted and mangled. There were nurses there that said, Mr. Lawler, King, we got to get you to the hospital. You can't go to the palace with your leg in that condition. And being the king that I am, I said nothing is going to keep me from getting my hands on Bret Hart tonight. I hobble here on one leg, and Bret Hart, I could beat you with only one leg. But right before I came out here, the doctors in the back gave me strict orders that under no circumstances would I be able to participate in any kind of wrestling event tonight.
What a shame. Oh my goodness. This is a ripoff. This is a ripoff.
Broken leg or no broken leg?
I don't believe it.
Wait a minute. Let me tell you something, you coward, Bret Hart. Don't think that you're going to get off easy. Don't think that you're going to leave here tonight without getting your brains beat out.
Yeah, that's true. And then obviously, we had Isaac Yankem, DDS, which would, Glenn Jacobs came. But I used to just love how Jerry Lawler would come out, and he was always badgering on Stu and Helen Hart. He was always making those comments and that. And I've always actually would love to talk to Bret to say, what he thought about that rivalry and how his parents were involved in these things, and how far was he comfortable and were his parents comfortable with the Jerry the King Lawler jokes? Because we know Jerry could sometimes really, really go below the belt. He could really push the envelope when he wanted to. But it was fun. It did go on too long, but it was fun, and it was nice to see Jerry Lawler have that run with someone like Bret Hart.
Of course, it's this that led us the Survivor Series. Doink, dink, wink, and pink against Jerry the King Lawler.
Yeah.
Sneezy, cheesy, and queasy. I gotta love Stevie Queasy.
I love that Survivor Series. That's another one of my nostalgic favorites.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you that in our plan, we will be doing Survivor Series 93 because it's brilliant. One of the matches that, I don't quite know how to talk about this one because the debut took place at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
We had a match at WrestleMania 9.
Yeah.
And then we got a rest in peace match at SummerSlam between The Undertaker, Giant Gonzalez, and the return of Paul Bearer. If you had to rate this one, it would be -5 out of 5. It was shocking.
I can't. Do you know what? Because The Undertaker being The Undertaker, and let's face it, he's had some of the best matches in the WWE, as well as some absolute stinkers, which I would never, ever, 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 ever put any blame on Taker at all.
What?
No, I'm sorry, but
hang on. No. How can you say that? How can you say that? WrestleMania against Roman Reigns.
That's different. Taker was at basically the end of his career and not in a good shape.
Was he in the match? Was he in the match?
I'm not,
was he in the match?
This.
Was he in the match? Yes or no? Was he in the match? Was he in the match? Was he in the match? Yes, he wasn't
in the match. He wasn't.
So you're telling me. So you're telling me.
Mark Calloway, an injured, suffering Mark Calloway, was in the match. The Undertaker, the Phenom, the Dead Man. He wasn't in the match. That wasn't him.
Okay, so the announcers didn't go from Death Valley.
They got it
wrong. At 300, the Undertaker. They didn't say that.
No, they said it, but they botched it. It was Mark Calloway, very injured and not in the best shape. But I don't blame him because I blame Vince, because Vince Taker quite easily would have sat some of these matches out if he wasn't ready. Vince needed the Undertaker. He needed the name at WrestleMania. He needed.
Moving on.
exactly. But there's nothing to say about the match, is there? Really, rest in peace match. It was,
it was shocking, but it wasn't as bad as the chaotic 6-man tag team match between the Native American Tatanka and the Smoking Guns against the Head Shrinkers and Bam Bam Bigelow. I mean, that's just. I mean, in my recap that I've got here in my notes, it's the last match at the very end of the run.
Yeah, it's a bizarre. That's more of an opener, isn't it? Really, or that's more of an opener.
It's more of a. This match is more of we have 5 minutes to fill. What are we going to do? We don't have any women to put on the show, so let's.
It went on longer than 5 minutes, but it's
a saying. It's a saying.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Right, as we begin to wrap up SummerSlam 1993.
Hart and Barry Horowitz in the dark match, didn't they?
Did.
Yeah, because I remember I've seen the dark match, and I got confused because I remember it was Razor and Ted DiBiase that opened the show. But I remember they couldn't even put Owen and Barry Horowitz on the main card, but yet they put this 6-man tag on there.
Do you know what? There's a couple of matches that I don't think we've covered, and I can remember certain matches, whether or not I'm completely wrong, that I don't have in my notes. Yes, I do. Here we go.
Shawn and Perfect.
So we had the Intercontinental Championship was Mr. Perfect going up against Shawn Michaels, who retained via count out. I mean, a PLE and you retain via count out.
That's a missed opportunity. I mean, Shawn Michaels, who is gradually working his way into becoming the real Heartbreak Kid that we got to know and love. Mr. Perfect, who had been around, who was becoming almost a veteran at that point.
Yeah.
Two of the absolute best in-ring workers that the WWE has had. This should have been potentially match of the night.
So I'm going to use a term that we hate. Shawn Michaels coming on to be the GOAT. Erwin R. Shyster, IRS, was collecting taxes that night as he defeated Sean Waltman, the 1-2-3 Kid, who was really having a stellar 1993 because it was earlier that year that he surprised everybody and beat the bad guy, Razor Ramon, and which kind of led to the face turn of Razor Ramon, which led to the pairing up. And you also had, and I can't believe I forgot this one because it's two of the most undisputed legends in professional wrestling going one-on-one. It's Ludwig Borga defeated as and I'm looking, this is no word of a lie. I am looking at WWE.com, right? Because they have a website with all the results on. You have a website. And Ludwig Borga defeated Matty Jannetty.
Matty.
They forgot the R in the name.
Oh dear.
I mean, if you weren't Shawn Michaels, if you weren't Jannetti'd with that right up, you.
Oh, do you know what? Do you know what? Do you remember? I think it was the Royal Rumble in 2007 or 2008. Which one was it? When Michael Buffer he did the announcing for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And Shawn Michaels, I think, was number 1 or number 2. And he actually announced Shawn Michaels as the Heartbreak Kid, not the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. He just went, the Heartbreak Kid, like that. And I was like, Shawn Michaels.
I quite liked it, though. It was different. But so that is SummerSlam 1993. Yeah, we have to do some dead dud ones sometime, you know. But we're going to carry that trend on next week on this show because, Stefan, what SummerSlam are we going to next?
We are, if my calculations are correct, we are going to SummerSlam 2000.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
No, we're not, Andy.
No, we're not. Shall I tell you where we're going? Shall I ask Self? I said, Self, where are we going next week? And Self said, SummerSlam 1995.
95, yeah. I knew it was a 5. I was about to say 2005, but no, that's coming later.
That's coming up. That's like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's 2 weeks time.
1995.
So we are going to go from a missed opportunity of Lex Luger and Yokozuna to an even worse opportunity of Diesel facing off King Mabel. The only saving grace in this show, ladies and gentlemen, is the ladder match between the bad guy, Razor Ramon, and the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. That's the only saving grace we have on this pay-per-view. But next week, SummerSlam 1995, we will be talking about it. Coming up for the rest of SummerSlam season, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking about SummerSlam 2002. We will be talking about SummerSlam 2005. And we're also going to throw a wild card in there. And I say it's a wild card SummerSlam because I can't remember which one we agreed we were going to do. It's the last one. I think it's 2015. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, I know we said we was doing SummerSlam 93. We're doing 95, 2005. We said 2002 because it was when Lesnar won his
mentioned that one. 2002, 2005, and we're doing one more, and I can't remember which one it is.
I think you said it. I think it is 2015.
I'll check my notes. I'll check my schedule later. And then, ladies and gentlemen, after that, we're going to go all in and go slightly different. So that is your run for the next 5 weeks here at Legends. Don't forget, if you want to be a part of Legends and Champions, Maguire on Wrestling, the alternate commentary table, I've seen a movie, then all you need to do is head over to Celebrate Wrestling on Facebook, answer a few questions, because that's what Meta tells us we have to do, and Mike will let you in. Stefan, if they want to listen to Mitch and Dimitri, what day do they need to listen?
Well, if you want to listen to our brethren, our Greek brethren, over at the alternate commentary table, you can listen to them every Saturday. I'll tell you what, they two are just pulling it out of the park. They've been stellar show.
Knockout shows.
Knockout shows. And then if you want to listen to El Capitano and Mike Maguire on the flagship show, along with the likes of Dave Meltzer and occasionally Joe Aguinaldo, then that is every Sunday, covering all the what's going on all around the world in professional wrestling. Well,
we're going to put a caveat on that. It's normally Sundays. It might be Mondays, depending on where we fall in terms of the PLE schedule. It might be Mondays. And don't forget, that's really interactive because you got Yay Boo, although he doesn't accept meh. And I got disqualified for saying meh.
I say meh.
That's meh.
I do.
It's not yay or boo, though, is it?
How you doing, Stefan? How are you doing today? Meh.
Meh. It's not yay or boo, though, is it?
What did you think of that match? Meh.
Yeah. How would you rate that match between yay or boo? Meh. Anyway, Mike, he's going to fire us. You know, we're going to be looking for a new network home soon. That's it for us. We'll be back next week. Stefan, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. See you next week, right here on Legends and Champions. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen. Bye-bye now.